What's going on, Leo? Welcome to your full moon in Sagittarius reading. This is super exciting. This is a great energy to be surfing. It could just be the Sag in my chart that's like, wee, but I feel like this is superb energy. The theme that came to mind while I was meditating on the energy and going for a walk was resplendent surrender. And just this idea of giving things up and saying, you know what, however this comes, great. A book that's been coming up a bit that I highly recommend is Danielle Laporte's The Desire Map. It kind of connects to your core desired feelings, a practice to which I still use this day on my vision board. So very, very cool. The premise is kind of based on some Abraham Hicks teachings as well. So it's a little woven together there, but talks about is it the manifestation that you want or how it's going to feel when it arrives? So connect to the feeling of what feeling you want, because then the things arrange themselves around that feeling, and then you're not bound to or attached to the outcome, and it makes things flow a lot easier. So it's a fantastic read. Highly recommend it. I don't know. Am I a fanboy now? I don't know. Fanboy. I fan them. Spirit, what messages do you have for my darling Geminis? And by Geminis, I mean Leos. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. The Swan. Leo, that's gracious. I like this. A little bit of grace. Giving yourself grace, maybe? Giving yourself grace. Drop into your heart. Ooh, I have goosebumps on that one. Yeah. Leo, drop into your heart. Drop into your heart. Distant shores. I'm going to read distant shores to you. Wait, hold on. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I wanted to ask to get the vibe off of them. Whoops, sorry about hitting the microphone a little bit in your precious ears, my lovelies. Distant shores. Your soul is yearning for more. The divine is all, and there are no limits to what can be experienced by the soul. The soul is so hungry for divine reunion that it will seek out whatever is needed to get there, even if that means journeying to strange or exotic shores for expanded experience. You may be feeling this soul impulse as an urge to travel, to try something new, to let go of the limitations of your mind in how you see your current life, and to begin to see the new in what was once familiar. The art of the passionate soul is to be able to see that which is new and fresh, even in what is known, though sometimes we can use the help of a fresh vista to inspire the mind to open and the heart to be ready to receive more. It's time for you to reach for the distant shores that are calling you now, beloved. Don't pack your bags with too much, though. You'll travel light and easy with less baggage, and you'll need plenty of space to receive that which is new. This oracle brings you a message. You will benefit greatly from travel right now. You may travel through the mind, reading of journals of faraway lands, or times, or watch a film that transports you. Moving your body to a different place is another way, bringing fresh energy by unplugging you for a short time from what you know, to plug you into a different circuit so that you may receive different energy. So when the opportunity to travel arises for you soon, whether it be a jaunt far away or a day in a different place, take it. Don't worry if it doesn't seem practical. The divine is so much more important, intelligent, and capable of genius than what mere logic would have us believe. Wow. So it's almost like I'm getting here this like surrendering the practical view, like surrendering to what is impractical, like surrendering to that, to the impracticality of oh, she's so cute. Oh my gosh. Anyway. Yes. So I gush my cat. She's so cute. Yeah. Surrendering the idea that it has to be practical. Three of Wands. Positive expectations, but also travel. Oh my gosh. Leo, what's going on here? I feel like where you are now is in a place of like looking to these distant shores. Like what's next? Like what's the next big wave? Nine of Cups. I feel like you're embracing. You want this? No. Okay. It's like you're embracing this really gorgeous sense of self. But the Nine of Cups is also a surrender because you trust. It's like a trusting in yourself to handle whatever comes your way, right? Sometimes we hesitate to surrender, not because we are afraid of what's coming, but because we're feeling like we need to have 555 on the time change. Wow. This reading is very loud for you, Leo. The themes are, at least. Because this is like, it's not that we don't trust ourselves necessarily, but there are aspects of our perception or our fulfillment that we haven't come to trust yet. Like, and I'm also getting like, is your container big enough to hold all the good that's coming your way? And that's part of the surrender too, is just showing up with a container. Damn. Leo, this is really good. To release, Three of Swords. Yeah. This is, I say that with a chuckle because if you're going to release, this is a beautiful card to have in a release because it means that you're moving past a disappointment that really frustrated you, right? Like this is also, so I think about where like having a really bad week, right? Like a bad week and you just go in your car or you know, just scream into a pillow to get the discharge of energy out, to get the frustration out so that it's not sitting in there, right? People might be like, that sounds really weird. And is it necessary? Yes, because it takes the frustration and does something with it so it doesn't start to get stored in your body in all these different places. It has to flow. So it's okay to do that. It's okay to have reactions. And I think we need to normalize the Three of Swords sometimes because I feel like a lot of spiritual community can, and this isn't exclusive to everyone, but it's almost like they can pedestalize this sense of peace as if that's the best and only experience that you can have if you're spiritual. Not true. That's just not true. We're here to experience every inch of our humanness, and that involves broken hearts, that involves disappointments, that involves betrayals, that involves harm, right? Not all harm I don't agree with that we need to experience in this lifetime, but we do experience it, right? My own life has been an example of that, where like, did I have to experience all the things that I did? No. But it's also part of my human experience that's here. And if I fight against it and resist, which is that like not releasing things. So it's like, I think that the big thing is to release any disappointments from the past, Leo, and to do it in a way that is discharging, not just not just talking about it, but doing something to discharge the energy of it. Like if I, it could just be the ADHD that I have. But when I get really excited about something and I'm just jazzed up and fired up and ready to go, sometimes I'll need to take a run or have a run, even if it's just a little 2-kilometer, 2K run. Usually it's 3, but just like minimum 2. So, doing that helps to discharge the energy. Going like if there's a day where I can't go for a run, I need to discharge the energy somehow, going in my car and shouting, right? Just discharging the energy, because it's not about being reckless and being like, oh, you might do that to people. No, you're not going to. You just won't. It's not in my ethos. It's about discharging that energy so that it doesn't get locked in your system and become a drain, and find holes in your auric fields that allow energy to come to you that is a match with that, because it's stuck in your field. It's about letting it flow. It's the emotional body. It can get stuck in there, right? So how are you letting it flow? And that's part of your release right now, Leo, and not necessarily the totality of your surrender, but I think that you're... I think that there's something to be said here for, let me pull the last card here, because I have a partial picture, but I want to see how the light gets in. Fate and destiny, divine timing. I'm going to pull that from the bottom too, because it's your emotions. It's almost like the alchemical treatment of your emotions. I think the light gets in because of the decisions that you make that turn the wheel. So when it comes to surrender, these are both surrender energies, right? These are both surrender energies. there's a card in the Hero's Journey Dream Oracle that talks about the upward spiral of grace. And I'm feeling that on this card in particular, this upward spiral of grace that's deeply connected to your emotions, that's deeply connected to your emotional process. But it's like that's how the light gets in. And I think of the cups energy, the king, queen, like the court of cups, as being your why, right? Like, why does something matter to you? What's the emotion behind it? I certainly didn't expect starting these readings for the desire map to be so profound a teaching, but I do recommend it. I'll put it in the link in the description below. But it's coming through as like when you connect to your why, that allows Jupiter to expand and take over the rest of the work, right? It allows Jupiter to do its thing, which is big. Like that's a big thing. It's no small thing either, right? But there's like what you can do, and then there's what spirit can do. And the wheel is a significant card. So it's really about, I think this is also like maybe releasing the attachments that we've had. These are all attachments, right? That pull at us, that pull at the heart space, that not just distract us, but that pull us off our path, and pull us away from a connection to ourselves too, right? It pulls us away from a connection to ourselves. And I think this is really embracing the possibility of your wishes coming true. Maybe you haven't believed in them so much lately, Leo. Like maybe you just haven't, maybe there's been some tarnish. But I feel like your positive expectations are what's really, you're standing in these positive expectations, but there's only so much good that you're letting in. So it's almost like this surrender, this act of surrender. This surrendering to the possibility of it being amazing. 12/12 on the time. Leo, that's really beautiful. And that's like drop into your heart. Drop into your heart. Get in touch with your feelings. Get in touch with your why. Because that's what's really going to move this wheel. That's like, it's like pushing the button and then the wheel turns. The wheel doesn't come with buttons, but I feel like it's that easy. It's that easy for you. And the wheel doesn't have to turn and bring like, huge things or cataclysmic changes, tectonic plates shifting and a rock running through flame. No, it doesn't. It's not like that necessarily. Sometimes the wheel is an awareness that's unlocked to you that allows you to believe in so much more, that allows you to reach for more, which means that you will acquire more or expand your experiences. And that is that's so powerful. That's so powerful. Spirit, what messages do you have for Leo, please, for this full moon in Sagittarius reading on surrender? Resplendent Surrender. Okay, so these came out first, so let's see what we've got here. So we have the 9 of Pentacles, the 10 of Wands, the Justice card, and the Page of Swords. I think that there's like, it's like there's a belief that you have. Maybe you've had to do a lot of things on your own, Leo. Like I'm getting that like there's a belief that you have about how hard it has to be in order for it to be really good. But that's the justice version of manifesting as opposed to the wheel of manifesting, like cause and effect, right? As opposed to like surrendering some of the details, whereas like you've been carrying all of the details, it looks like, and you've been doing it well. Like you're in the 9 of Pentacles, so it's working for you. But it strikes me that there's maybe a better way of doing things, and I think that that's where it's sort of initiating you into this process and initiating you with this Page of Swords, like this kind of, it's new knowledge that's making its way to you and a new way of seeing situations and things. So you might feel a little bit out of your depth with it, but it's just a different way of doing what you've already been doing. It just frees up more of your energy, if that makes sense. Spirit, what messages do you have for Leo on this 9 of Cups, please? She's going to try and go, will she make it? Yes, she will, because of course she will. I don't know why I doubt her. She's like, yeah, thanks. I'm kidding. 9 of Cups, the Fool. Knight of Cups, 8 of Swords, 6 of Cups. it's almost like trust your heart right now, because you can't see the treasure chest, you can't see all of these wishes coming true. This is the surrender, is surrendering to this sense of emotional fulfillment and emotional depth, and trusting in the treasure that you cannot necessarily see, but that you can feel it. And that's part of this leap. You have to trust. There's a call for you to trust right now, Leo. Because I feel like there may be some ways that things didn't necessarily work out in the past that are kind of informing this sort of brokenhearted, unsteady-hearted, really, energy. But I feel like, it's because of these attachments, right? It's attachments. Look at this, like all of these are a kind of attachment. Like you're bound. But it may be tied to the way things have happened before in the past, the way that things have come to you in the past, or the way that you've worked in the past. Because like, I get it, right? Like I've had to shift, like big time shift in the past year and a half, my perception of success. Like you don't have to work harder. Right? I put out a lot of content on this channel, but it's not hard work for me. I love it. It thrills me to do it, right? It's invigorating for me. I like tapping into guidance and sharing it with people, and being helpful and in service to folks through this means, and through this in particular. And I'm sure there are ways that that'll change over time, but I feel like this is it's sort of like a depth of dreaming. It's a depth of dreaming that you may not be able to see the big picture, right? You may not be able to see the full picture, but I feel like that's part of your grace right now, the swan. It's part of your grace. And that's where this distant shores may come in too, where it's like literal travel might take you out of your environment every day, and it might place you somewhere different so you can see things slightly differently. And then maybe that's going to reflect something back to yourself that will help you see and understand something slightly differently, right? So Spirit, can you tell me a little bit more about this Three of Swords? Magician energy. Okay, so we have a lot of cards coming out here. So the Magician, yeah, that's like manifesting powers. Two of Cups, the Hermit, and the World. So let me do this here. So the Magician on this Three of Swords here, to release, I feel like this is going to, releasing this sort of, these attachments, or the way that things have happened in the past, these hurts from the past, these disappointments, times things didn't work out. Those were, you might say, well, that was manifesting too, to an extent, but the way that you make meaning from it and learn from it, and take that into your heart and stitch that back together, right? That is okay. So two things went through my head. The line Meryl Streep said of Carrie Fisher, at an award show, Meryl Streep was accepting an award and said, and to quote my friend Carrie Fisher, something along those lines, take your broken heart and make it into art. And then the line from the song You Are Safe by Sleeping at Last is, you are an artist, your heart is a masterpiece. You are an artist, your heart is your masterpiece. And honestly, I think that this is part of your manifesting power, is like, there's kind of an art to this, but it's not like an art that's like a club that only people get access to. And it's like, no. I think that this is like your art and craft here. There's something about this that is tapping into your skill. The Two of Cups here tells me that this has some component of soulmate energy, but it could also be that there were ways that relationships in your life factored into your manifesting, and that's something that you're needing to release right now, is the tie that you've created, because these are telling me about different attachments and cords that may have built up that sort of pulled your heart into all of these. It just pulled it apart, which tells me that there was this force exerted, these expectations, these demands, these needs, and like, it's okay to have needs. I'm not saying don't have them. I think it's very important that people do. So I'm not maligning those. I'm talking here about how there could have been things that other people expected of you, that they said were that, they're approaching situations with 2 cups, even exchange, equal energy exchange, but it just wasn't the case. That was not the case. That didn't turn out to be what was actually happening. And that could have been about a Saturn lesson for you, or some kind of way that you were taking ownership, or that they had to take ownership for themselves and you were taking ownership for their part of the equation, and you just can't, because then you can't take ownership for you or over you, right? It's like an imbalance. Like you cannot have that much energy being occupied by someone else in your own without it throwing off your own capacity to stand in your life. And I think this is like the wisdom that's arriving upon this release. This could also be some of the Saturn retrograde themes that might come up through this month. But I feel like there's a great deal of wisdom that's making itself known here to you through really like not great situations, but this is how you're using this in service to and in surrendering. You're surrendering the need for it to be perfect or pretty or anything like that. You're allowing the mess. You're surrendering to the way that might have felt. You're surrendering to your feelings. And I think that this is why the Queen of Cups is here. And the Queen of Cups is like self-compassion. It's forgiveness. It's having empathy for yourself and also having empathy for other people. And that's really important, right? It's really important. And I think too that like, people get kind of confused about empathy because I think not this isn't to paint in broad strokes. I've just experienced it where people can say that they are empathetic when what's actually true is that there's a way that they're existing from an attachment to an outcome. And they're empathetic to the outcome, but it's really that they're interested in how that's like what's in it for them. I don't know if this is making sense. Like it's like they can say that, but they're being a bit disingenuous because they're not coming from a place of that matters to me because it matters to you. They're coming from a place of that matters to me because I want what's on the other side of this. I want the other side of this, and I want it at my dispensation. I want it at my time, in my way. And I think that there's a way that, oh my gosh, my cat is clawing at the door, 2222 on the time. Hang on. I'm going to let her out. Come here, baby. Come on. Ugh, she lacks opposable thumbs, so I never want to keep her trapped. But yeah, I feel like there's a way that empathy can work for people like that, right? And then they can make you feel like that's what, so you have to be empathetic in the same way, or they're not going to call it empathy. And it's just not true. That's not the case. Like, so it's also about aligning your values so that you're inside integrity, right? That's kind of what the Justice card is to me, is inside integrity. Like you're saying what you mean and you're meaning what you say, and you're living in a way that's true. Like, so it's coming together such that you don't really, there's so much that you don't need to do because you're coming from this place of authenticity where things just come to you. And it's not just ideas and people and resources. It's not just about that, but it's about the joy that comes from knowing that what you see is what you get with you, right? And I haven't really known a Leo to, like a lot of the Leos that I know, and I know a fair few, not to paint with broad strokes, but a lot of the Leos that I know, it's authenticity is just where it's at for them, right? Like take them as they are, take it or leave it, right? That kind of idea. So I think you're stepping into more of that energy, but I feel like there may have been ways that you felt split, like your energy was split, not between people, but I'm getting this way of it being split between, like you were competing with your energy, like things were competing priorities. Thank you. Oh my gosh, I was struggling to find that word. Competing priorities is really, it can mess with your capacity to surrender, because as soon as you let go, you're like, but I need to have this attachment there because this is a priority, but this is also a priority. And it's okay to have competing priorities. But what's important is to recognize them, Leo, to recognize them, to breathe into them, and to ask yourself how to align them. Because if you're unconscious to that, things just feel awkward. They feel clunky. They feel like you can't really wrap your head or hands around them. Like it's just, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit quite the same. So And it's not because it doesn't fit because there's anything wrong with you. It's just that it doesn't fit because it's not the container. It's that container, right? The Nine of Cups. Like, is your container big enough to hold the dream that you have for your life? So we have the Queen of Cups, the Wheel, and the Hierophant. So there's some Taurian and Jupiter energy here. So far, in terms of signs, we have Libra, we have Uranian energy. We also have Mercury. Sorry if that was loud in your ears. We have Mercury, we have Saturn, Virgo, Taurus, and Jupiter. Aries energy. I think it's almost like this is like finding out what's most important to you. And there's like a pursuit of that knowledge here. There's kind of like both of these figures are leaders, right? They both lead in completely different energy. And I think that this may be two different sides of your manifesting capacity and power. One is very spiritually inclined, a lot of spiritual depth to it, sharing of knowledge in that institutional capacity as well, perhaps. But there's also this aspect of leadership that integrates the lessons of the kings, like experience. This is like life experience. This is lived experiences that you had of manifesting. So it's like these two capacities that you have and these two brilliant sources of information that inform your Queen of Cups, your emotion. And I feel like there's something here about the wheel turning when bringing these two parts of yourself together. This is first and second house. Sorry, first and third house. No, second. Oh my gosh, I get them confused all the time. Anyways, the houses don't matter as much to me. It's more about the fact that this is kind of like this. The other way to read this too, in terms of signs and energy that comes with them, is like, what are you prioritizing comfort in spiritual? Like, are you prioritizing like being comfortable or taking action, right? Because there's ways that these can become shadows of one another. Like, this is taking too much action and not prioritizing enough time to take things in at a spiritual pace or level. And then this is like, all spirituality and very little action and grounded connection to the world. And they're both, they can be shadows of one another, right? There's when I was really active in my in one of the Christian communities that I was in university and undergrad, I read a book by a guy named Shane Claiborne called something like Everyday Radical or something like that. And it definitely was not about radicalism at all. It was just talking about the ways that we can show up for others and love one another where we are. And one of the things that he talked about, one of his quotes was like, he said that he saw a quote, and this is where I read it, but it was just that, spirit comforts the disturbed and disturbs the comfortable. And sometimes that's what surrender can really be like, right? Disturbs the comfortable and comforts the disturbed. And I think that's what this energy can kind of be, right? Like, and it finds you at the right time. Like, this reminds me of the Tony Robbins quote, about taking massive action. Dream as big as you want. Make it, as connected to your priorities, this spiritual connection. Make it as connected as possible, but make it take massive action. Massive action. Whatever that means for you. And this isn't to say like hustle culture and burnout. It's not like that either. Because that's like an epidemic unto itself, really. I read in a Financial Post article this morning that there were in Canada, at least 81% of Canadians are talking about how they feel burnt out at work. 81%. That's most of the country, but they keep going and going and going. So it's almost like, taking massive action has its limits, but comforting the disturbed, what is comfortable enough to just disturb you a little bit, and then do a little bit more, and then do a little bit more. It's finding those places of discomfort that don't disrupt your entire life or, health or anything like that. Little steps, baby steps, doing one thing at a time, one step at a time, taking those steps, right? So, and then unsurprisingly, the Queen of Cups comes out again. It really tells me that that's the story of this expansion for you, Leo, in this full moon, is like this surrender. It's like you're surrendering a little bit to your heart space, but I think you're surrendering more. You're surrendering more wholeheartedly to the idea of the good that is coming to you. It's like surrendering more to that and leaning into that far more. Spirit, what messages do you have for Leo for this Sagittarius full moon transformation? Yeah. Death card, Scorpio energy, 8th house, things you can't see necessarily, or things that happen behind closed doors, but it's also just the transformative energy of what happens behind closed doors, right? Oh, and this popped out while I was shuffling. So we have the Empress and the Four of Swords, the transformative power of what happens behind closed doors. And then we talked about, then this came out. So it's almost like this healing of your relationship to your manifestations, to your manifesting power, to your creative potential and power. That's really important. That's powerful too. That's very powerful. Very powerful. The Empress also represents Venus energy in the 7th house, which is ruled by Libra. So that's more Libran energy. So this, you might feel like this competing priority piece, you might have been you might have felt like you needed to be more diplomatic than not, but it was kind of disconnecting you from this place of deep rest that you might have needed. Deep rest, and not just sleep, like rest, like rest, like very, just having days where you do nothing, right? Having days where you curl up with a book. Like I'm obviously a bookworm, but giving yourself that time. Like I'm doing that after I do a couple of these readings. After I'm finished Sag, I'm going to do that for the rest of my afternoon off. I'm going to sink into that after spending some time outside. That's rest, right? But this, I feel like this is really, there's so much that's happening right now for you, Leo. There's a lot. There's a lot. I feel like the key to surrendering, though, is believing that it's possible for it to be really good. Because I feel like you've been micromanaging the details. You've been micromanaging the details a lot. And that's what I'm getting here is this Emperor and Empress are counterpart energy. But look at the strength of these characters, okay? Look at the strength and the will of these characters. So let's take the Empress out of it because that's kind of how you come up after the transformation. But wow, that is a lot of action-oriented. Just these two, action-oriented. Then your emotions kind of pop up and play into this and into that raw power that you have and how much of this you've had to be in, Leo. That's the other thing too, is how much of this you've needed to be in. And then this beautiful Queen of Cups energy is your emotional intuition, your sensitivity coming into play, and this washing out of things, this clearing out of things, right? It's I'm seeing not putting out a fire, but making it containable and manageable so that it keeps you warm without, I'm hearing the quote too, you don't have to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. And I feel like this is almost also about boundaries too. So this could be really relevant for you with this full moon in Sagittarius is releasing situations that don't honor your boundaries. And that could also be this aspect of transformation and rest, putting things to rest that are not helpful, and not just saying, well, that doesn't help me, so forget it. It's not discarding people or situations. This is about really assessing in a transformative capacity what is serving you and what is not, because this is the ease and energy and that fruitful and fulsome energy. 3333 on the time right now. So I feel, Leo, that there's a lot that's happening right now, one, but two, I also feel like there is a depth of trust that you're cultivating right now. And maybe the thing to surrender is this need to do it all or to have it all figured out. This idea that you have to have it all figured out. You really only need to know a little piece of what you would like to experience and why you want that feeling, right? Those you love you. Yeah, this is reciprocal energy. I feel like that's that priority piece, right? Feeling like you might be pulled in a few different directions. Feeling like you might be pulled in a few different places. Spirit, what messages do you have for my daily creatives? Nope. For my Leo pals. Goodness. I'm taking in all of this anyways. Enjoy your extraordinary uniqueness. I mean, what Leo doesn't? What Leo doesn't? There isn't a soul on the planet who doesn't crave your approval. I'm not so big on the approval, but let me read the back to you because that's where it comes into play. The only difference between a friend and a foe is that you've decided where love can grow. And this is, again, perspective, right? Are you befriending things and are you trusting things, or are you feeling like you have to do it all? Are you feeling like you have to do it all? So let's pull from the Miracles Now deck here. Spirit, what messages do you have for my Leo pals for this Sagittarius full moon? I can think my way out of fear. You also feel your way out too, right? But you can think your way out. I begin my day with love. Don't forget, the gratitude. Gratitude is a huge part of this. And that's also thinking your way out of fear. Like, what is it that you're thinking about that charges your manifestations with feeling, that charges your visualizations with a feeling, right? What thoughts are you relying on for that process to come to fruition, or to arrive at a place, a specific place for you? So Leo, this is your reading though. I'm really excited to see where this takes you for this full moon in Sagittarius. If this resonated, please like and subscribe. I'd love to have you on the channel if you are not already. And if you are, thank you so much for watching. It means so much to me to be able to do this. So thank you for that. And wherever this finds you, my friends, on the time-space continuum, morning, afternoon, or night, I hope it finds you very, very well. Thank you so much and have a great day.